Hello and thanks for joining us. Welcome to Max UFO News.
Welcome to October's episode of Max UFO News. As many of you know, the Congressional Hearing Initiative formally launches on the 5th of November. DVD box sets containing the full 30 hours of the citizen hearing on disclosure will be sent to members of the US Congress on the 1st of November. A substantial media blitz will begin on or about the 29th of October. The goal is to obtain a commitment to hold congressional hearings by the 31st of January and actual hearings sometime in February of 2015. We here at Max UFO News have our fingers crossed and wish Steve Bassett and the initiative the very best of luck. Earlier this month, UFO Contact uploaded an interview covering the Disclosure Initiative. Featured in this video from the retreat are Stephen Bassett and Grant Cameron, who sit alongside Daniel Chin, Elizabeth Trutwin and Victor Vigiani during a panel discussion at the UFO Contact retreat, which took place in August 2014. UFO Contact is a global community, and is one of the largest organized networks of individuals and teams facilitating ongoing ET contact. They achieve this by sharing their experiences in a safe place of connection. They also develop partnerships with others who are equally committed to working from a place of integrity within the field. Last week I had the pleasure of chatting with members of the UFO Contact group, and they have graciously permitted me to include the interview on this month's episode.
Drag this stuff out. The other thing is the 1,000 pages of documents was one of the things I filed under the FOIA. They are gone. They are not in the Clinton Library. They are not in the National Archives. I do not know where they are. I filed appeals. End of story. I've got the documents, but they say they don't exist.
I can add some more to that. In the 2007 election, later in the year, and this was the 60th anniversary of Roswell. I went to the Roswell Festival, and I had been pushing the Rockefeller Initiative very hard, very, very hard. And so I'm at the Roswell Festival, and the Fox News called me up, and they said they wanted me to do I forget which show it was. I don't think it was Fox and Friends. It was one of the other ones, but it might have been Fox and Friends. So I go on, and they've been getting my press releases, which talked about the Rockefeller Initiative, right? Again, theoretically, that should have been covered heavily, without question, but it wasn't. The truth embargo says you don't go there. But in the case of Fox and the fact that, Hillary was a factor in that election, they couldn't resist. So they called me up and they put me on, and I went on, and I was in a booth. I was in one of those trucks there that was at the festival, sitting on the outside, and I had to go in the truck, and I'm sitting there. And they interviewed me, and I have a monitor there that I'm watching. And I was very amused. When the segment comes up, right, to interview me, they put up a graphic behind the interviewer, the fellow, the guy that talked to me. On one side was Hillary Clinton, and on the other side was a flying saucer. And I talked about the Rockefeller Initiative on Fox, 2007, in the middle of the Democratic debates. Now, I was absolutely certain that when she saw this, and I guarantee you she saw this, her blood ran cold. I met her once with Sarah McLennan. She's like a very nice person. Some people, well, I won't go there, but, so this is not a good thing. Well, there was no follow-up. Nobody followed up on it, nothing else. But nevertheless, that was an example of that one moment. And one of the things I've said several times, which I think is very telling, and again, this is one of those sort of oblique analyses that you really have to think about to get, and most people aren't going to do that, and I get it, that's my job, is that, look, I've watched politics in the U.S. become as hyper-partisan as it's ever been. I think back in the 1800s they had some pretty rough times. The Jackson administration, if I recall, is pretty bad. The point is, it's really, really bad. If you've got a wart on your chin, they're going to eviscerate you over that, okay? If your dog poops on somebody's lawn, they're coming after you. Everything is in play. You've seen it. If you're American, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know how bad it is in Canada. I imagine it's fairly intense. But you watch our TV, so you know what it is. It's basically a knife fight down there, all right? Every day. Okay, well, then think about this for a second. On the internet, going all the way back to 2000, right, jacked heavily up by the fact that Podesta himself called for the release of UFO files in 2002, 2003. The Clintons have been repeatedly connected to the ET issue through the Rockefeller Initiative and documents that are posted on 2 websites and other websites. You don't believe me? Put Rockefeller Initiative into Google, right, and go to images and do the image search. They're right there. They've been up there for 14 years. Podesta calls for the release of UFO files twice. All right, what happens? He gets made the transition team to Obama. Right. How many people have read an article or seen a Drudge report on any of the right-wing websites or even Rush Limbaugh attacking the Clintons over the UFO connection? Can you think of one? No, I never have. They should have slaughtered them over it. They should have dropped bombs on them. It should have been, well, just pretty spectacular. Why is that? Believe me, these things don't happen by accident. The reason the Republicans have tried to eviscerate Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, and thus help to secure their positions, maybe even win the election of 2004, or 2008 rather, is because the Republicans know there's an ET presence just like you do, and I do. The Republicans at the high end are heavily connected to the military intelligence complex. That's their boys and girls over there. You don't think that generals, particularly those in the military intelligence people that have connections to the Republicans on the intelligence committees, haven't taken them to lunch sometime and say, you know, the ET issue is real, don't you? They know it's real. So if they were to attack Hillary and Bill Clinton on the ET issue and try to destroy them because they're tinfoil hat-wearing believers, and Vladimir Putin the next week announced the ET presence was here, it would be a catastrophe. And so they don't say anything, except that little Fox News segment, yeah, which, you know, I think they just couldn't resist, you know, kind of tossed it out, but boy, they never followed up on it. So are you starting to get the surreality of what is going on down there? It's beyond Lewis Carroll. It's beyond Alice in Wonderland. We are completely in the outer orbits. It's just, it was Kabuki theater cubed. It's 4-dimensional Kabuki theater. It's time warped. So one should not be surprised that things don't make sense, things don't get done, things don't add up. Right? Everybody knows that 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 the ET is real. But what do you do? Right? The press knows. Right? Obama knows. Podesta knows. So what exactly is going on? Well, I think, and I'll give it to Grant, in all of this madness that they've created, this insane asylum they've built down there, they basically lock themselves into separate rooms. One group is in the room where they do the, what do they call it, electroshock therapy, and somebody else is in the shower room over here, you know. And so the White House can't do anything because the military intelligence won't give them the information, and the military intelligence can't do anything because they work for the president, and that would be treason. The politicians can't do anything, they've been pulled out of the loop. And so they're just sort of sitting in their little boxes and nothing is going on while the world passes them by. The job of the activist is to solve that problem. Force them to come together and cut a deal. That's really what we're doing. That's the whole point of the initiative. That's the whole point of the media frenzy we're trying to get. Force them to cut a deal, meaning they no longer going to stand pat. They must cut a deal and get disclosure done. And I really don't care about anybody's political aspirations at all. I don't care if the United States is not the first to disclose. And I'm going to make that point repeatedly to members of Congress and in the media so that the president, if he's not playing golf, may catch it. I don't care. This thing is way past American exceptionalism and our right to be a superpower and blah, 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 blah. It's way past that. Hillary's aspirations to be the first woman president are slowly sinking into a swamp of self-interest, corruption, delusion. She had a shot. She didn't get it. Obama got it. Failed presidency. These are tough times. All right? But things will start getting better for everybody when politicians actually start standing up for what they've done, what they've said, and the important issues. If she wants to be president, she needs to do it. And she needs to do it pretty quickly. Because the Rockefeller Initiative is heading straight for her like a cruise missile.
If you're aware, there's 2 documents in the Rockefeller Initiative to deal with Hillary Clinton, and they're very clear documents. And one states that all the material going from the Rockefellers into the science advisor to the president, and all the stuff from going from the science advisor to the president back to Rockefeller were going through Hillary Clinton's office. So that is very clear that Hillary was in the middle of this whole thing. The second one was Rockefeller, when he came and he told John Mack and he told Hopkins, he said, I'm going to the president, I'm going to get disclosure. And they said, Mr. Rockefeller, I don't think that's how it works. He said, no, I'm going there, I'm going to go to the president. So he went to try to get to the president, and they cut him off at the science advisor, cut him off. Try to handle him, keep him away from the president. So Rockefeller was saying, okay, you know, I don't think we can do anything. Rockefeller says, look, he says, if I don't get what I want, I'm going to put a major ad in every major newspaper in the United States, and I've got the money to do it, and I'm going to ask for disclosure publicly. He said, hang on, Mr. Rockefeller, what do you want to do? What do you want us to do? And he said, if it's as deep as you say it is, and if it's as classified as you say it is, what can we do? We can't do anything. Give us one case, we'll get that one case declassified, and then we'll go after the rest of it. And he said, okay, go out, we want a reinvestigation of Roswell. And that's why they reinvestigated Roswell. So when this was going on, Hillary was in the middle of this thing, and then he had this letter. So when he didn't get what he wanted, he said, okay, I think it's time to go to the president. I'm going to send a letter to the president. And he said, no, Mr. Rockefeller. And they would do some more stuff for him. So he had this letter on a disclosure of the UFO phenomena to the public, to the president. And what he would do is he'd have different people helping him draft the letter and make changes. Hillary Clinton, clearly in one of the documents it shows Hillary Clinton was one of the people that was helping him edit the letter on UFO disclosure to the president. So Hillary had these 2 documents that clearly state she was in the middle of this whole thing. So she's running for president last time, and I filed 100 FOIA requests, and FOIA is, it's like, you know how the system works, that people can win. First come, first serve. So there was a big lawyer firm in Washington who wanted Hillary's files, and they were all upset. And 11 of the first 18 FOIAs that came out from the Clinton library were on UFOs. So of course all the media is saying, well, what's with the UFO stuff? What's going on here? And this law firm in Washington, Danny may know who they are, they were trying to get Hillary's stuff. And they were very upset. So they made a public statement and said, what's with this? We want Hillary's files. Why are you all this garbage? You're releasing all this garbage stuff. And I wrote him a letter and I said, first come, first serve. I don't give a damn who you are. Go to hell. And they never responded. But anyway, what happened was I got picked up. Washington Post interviewed me for an hour and a quarter. Fox News interviewed me. Associated Press interviewed me extensively. 2 of the 3 did articles. I gave them all those 2 Hillary Clinton documents. She was running for president, and those clear documents that showed that she was part of this UFO thing, They wrote stories, but they totally ignored the Hillary documents, even though they were provided with all that material. So it doesn't just happen in Toronto, it happens all over the place. There's news editors, whatever's going on, they just don't want to touch the subject, and that's where, on the internet, we've got power. We, the people, have to take control and keep the pressure on. We have power that we don't realize we have on the internet, and we should be using it.
Now, here's another story. You ready for this one? Related. So, as part of the Rockefeller Initiative being put out in 2000 going forward, we were aware that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton had a meeting with Lawrence Rockefeller at his JY Ranch in Wyoming, right back in the middle of the Rockefeller Initiative, like 1995, if I'm not mistaken. Just happened to coincide with it, you see. The man who was trying to get the president to disclose, they went and met with him at his ranch. And we had made clear statements, both myself and Grant, that they discussed the ET issue while they were up there. Right? We also, and let me also point out that Rockefeller had invited a number of researchers, including Linda Moulton Howe, Stephen Greer, and others, to meet at the same ranch, JY Ranch, to discuss strategy regarding this. This is how intense this was. Well, the debunkers and some of the reporters who I talked to, and the debunkers were on the internet saying, there's no way that they discussed the ET issue up there. Absolutely couldn't happen. Absolutely couldn't happen. No way they'd have done it. No way they'd have done it. They say more crap. So anyway, Grant files his FOIAs to the presidential library and gets a bunch of stuff back, including some very fine photos. And a couple of these photos showed Hillary Clinton walking through the woods during that meeting, crossing a bridge with Lawrence Rockefeller, and she has a book in her arm that's upside down. All right? Okay, fine. Well, of course, that photo went up on the internet. All right? If there's no internet, this story doesn't happen, okay? Internet. So it was available to, 4 or 5 billion people. So a couple of guys, I think the guy was in France. Yeah, it was France. Well, I want to get this guy's name and somehow get him some promotion because he's been lost in history here. But he decides, I'm going to find that book, okay? So he starts checking every book that he conceivably could, that could possibly be that book, and he finds that book, all right? And so naturally, he sends it in to, I think, Open Minds or somebody, and so they publish an article. What was the book that she was carrying as she's talking to him, upside down, right? It was, help me here, Grant.
Philosophical implications of extraterrestrial, the philosophical implications of the discovery of extraterrestrial life.
By astrophysicist Paul Davies. Just another one of those coincidences. Now that photo is still out there, and the documents are still out there, and the DVDs are headed for the Capitol. And so here is the problem that they have. Obama has a problem because if he doesn't get ahead of this, it could be another disaster for him if another head of state preempts the U.S. on disclosure, thus completely obliterating whatever little bit of legacy he had, wiping out the Democrats again, and God knows who gets to be president in 2016. Meanwhile, the Clintons have a dilemma, because if they don't get ahead of this, then her aspirations are go down the drain. If she doesn't come ahead of this issue and say yes, and speak to this and acknowledge it, then it will come out, and she's going to have to explain why she has been silent for 26 years and only got driven to speak by the powerful force of the net and the great truthers that peruse there, right? So this is why when I show, the truthers, this is why when those DVDs show up and I show up and this tweet and email storm gets rolling, they do have some hard decisions. They're not gods. They can't make whole refs of documents and people just disappear with the snap of their fingers. They can't turn history around their little finger. They are, like many politicians, vulnerable to the net. And the net has taken down quite a few politicians in the last 15 years, if you haven't noticed, right? That said something stupid in front of a camera that made it to YouTube in a couple of days, and bye-bye career. And that's only the beginning, because I think the net's played a pretty important part in the Edward Snowden affair, which has turned the NSA upside down, right? And let's don't even get into WikiLeaks. So they're really on the run. Now, maybe there'll be a big pushback. I don't know. But I know this, that the the coinciding of Hillary Clinton's aspirations for the 2016 election, the 2014 election coming to an end in November, Obama's huge failed presidency, which he has desperately needed to salvage, if the Democrats are not to lose the House and Senate, if not this time, then by 2016. Means that somebody is going to have to face up to this issue and get on top of it and make it theirs, so that that will help get them where they want to go instead of destroy their opportunities. So I think that's why we get congressional hearings before March of next year. Okay. If I'm the Obama administration and I'm confronted with that petition, I've got a couple of options. One option is to go, yes, we're going to call for disclosure. Boom! All hell breaks loose. Could have done that. Not going to happen. The other was to publish a wishy-washy classic political statement that really doesn't say anything but you can't attack, and they're safe. They could have done that. Instead, they gave us an absolute denial, which very possibly could have been deliberate on their part because they couldn't do anything, but they could give us something to work with. Well, that's exactly what we're doing, and so, but I don't know that. Maybe one day we'll know that. But whether it was intentional or whether they actually believe there is no evidence, possible, but unlikely, that was what made the next two steps highly probable. So as we move into the final move of this chess game, again, I've got the White House on paper saying there is absolutely nothing to this, and I've got a 26 year? No, it's not 26 year. 19, yeah, it's a 17 and 9, it's 21 year. I got a 21 year, easily verifiable record that Hillary and Bill Clinton have said absolutely nothing about a very significant event that took place in their administration, and I'll throw Podesta in as well, and Panetta, all right? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So they're both red-handed. They're caught red-handed, right? And now when the press gets that red-handed thing, that's when the press goes boom. That's why I say that the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure DVDs is exactly equivalent to Monica Lewinsky's blue dress. Because there wasn't anything more to say or do, no more nonsense, no more lies, no more maneuvering to stop the press from doing what it was going to do next, which is basically take Bill Clinton to the outhouse and beat the crap out of him until he completely confessed, apologized 85 times, and was impeached by the House. That's the way it works, right? Now, if Hillary and the president can somehow worm their way out of this by some histrionic maneuvers, I'll be impressed. I don't see it. On paper, I think we have
Get this! Come out of here! Get back in here!
Sort of a surge. He says when these big knife switches close and you hear that power, it's not just the arcing of the contactors. It's the surge that the sound, that the energy makes. Whatever it was far more violent than was portrayed in the movie. In the movie it's played down a lot.
Right.
But it was a stunning sort of a force. I was unconscious.
The Travis Walton case is one of the most credible and most famous alien abduction stories within ufology. His experiences inspired the 1993 movie, Fire in the Sky. Now, 39 years after the abduction, Mr. Walton is inviting the public to join him for a nighttime skywatch at the site where this fascinating event occurred. Mr. Walton was recently quoted as saying, "I am kind of nervous about it, because it is the first time I go back on the site at night." Unquote. The Skywatch event will be held on the anniversary of the abduction, which is November 5. It will be hosted by Ben Hansen, the co-host of Sci-Fi's Fact or Faked. The following day a press conference will be held at the Holbrook County Courthouse. This will include some of the crew members who witnessed the UFO and subsequent abduction in 1975.
UFO enthusiasts had an out-of-this-world experience at the Cornwall UFO Research Group 18th Annual Conference, earlier this month. Around 70 people attended the CUFORG conference, in Truro. Visitors were treated to talks from some of the county's leading experts, as well as Robbie Graham, who focused on how Hollywood has shaped our expectations of potential alien life and visitations. Speaker Lorraine Flaherty shared her expertise on energy fields, and the conference's organizer Dave Gilham teamed up with David Lee to discuss a mass UFO sighting over Cornwall, witnessed by 40 people back in December 2000.
You reach an age when you realize that you either, there's this wonderful moment, a key moment in the movie Shawshank Redemption, when Andy Dufresne says to his friend, played by Morgan Freeman, you either get busy living or you get busy dying. And I know that an awful lot of people that sat and saw that movie heard that, right? And I think everybody at some point in their life realizes that's exactly what you're going to have to do.
This year at the 2014 International UFO Congress, Stephen Bassett was given the Researcher of the Year award for his success with the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure. In May 2013, researchers, activists, and military agency political witnesses representing 10 countries gave testimony in Washington, D.C. to 6 former members of the United States Congress about events and evidence indicating an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. The Citizen Hearing on Disclosure was an unprecedented event in terms of size, scope and the involvement of former members of the U.S. Congress, 40 witnesses over 5 days. The event was the most concentrated body of evidence regarding the extraterrestrial subject ever presented to the press and the general public at one time.
I'm not saying that there aren't things that the government is involved in that we don't have a need to know. I believe that is true and will always be true. The trouble is that they have now classified way too much as need to.
That the, how would you say, comparison between what is shown here and the White House's position will prompt the political media to begin to go into investigation mode, not simply to record what is going on, but to ask very difficult questions, the obvious questions of the obvious people.
Acknowledgement of the ET presence needs to come from government in order to ensure that the stability of societies are maintained, and also because there is the possibility that the extraterrestrials, which have been engaging us for a long time, for whatever reason, lack of patience, another agenda, will force disclosure on us through their own action.
I realized what I needed to do, and that was to go to Washington, where I had spent a lot of time, knew my way around, and engage this issue politically, because the solution to the UFO ET issue is in fact political, not scientific.
We're going to ship 535 of the DVD sets of the entire hearing, 30 hours, about 10 DVDs. We'll ship them to the Congress with letters signed by most or all of the citizen hearing witnesses, requesting that they meet with PRG's lobbyist, me, and discuss this content, and also prepare to have hearings to get some hearings.
The citizen hearing on disclosure took place from April 29 to May 3, 2013 at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. Researchers, activists, and witnesses from around the world assembled to present testimony in front of 6 former members of the United States Congress about events and evidence indicating an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. The event and its more than 30 hours of testimony were recorded on video. This footage will be featured in a documentary titled Truth Embargo that is currently in production. But the team behind the citizen hearing footage just announced that all 10 of the evening lectures presented at the citizen hearing are now available as video on demand. The options for watching these lectures include renting and streaming individual lectures. The lectures are available at citizenhearing.org.
Roger Marsh recently released UFO statistics for September. Quote, a September spike in U.S. UFO reports occurred in Maine, Vermont, New Mexico and Oregon, according to witness reporting statistics released the 1st of October, 2014, from the Mutual UFO Network MUFON. Disregarding populations, the top 10 reporting states for September 2014 were California, 93, Pennsylvania, 32, Florida, 32, Ohio, 31, Arizona, 29, Michigan, 28, Texas, 27, New York, 25, Illinois, 24, and Indiana, 24. The sphere remains the most reported UFO shape with 140 September cases, down from 179 August cases. The UFO alert rating system has previously only reported on the raw numbers by state to rate each state. Beginning October 2014, the rating will change to rank states by population. Unquote. In addition, there were 23 landings, hoverings, or takeoffs reported and 0 entities.
man is spooked tonight.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to think about the construction of a huge building near his home and what he noticed recently flying above him. Tonight we look into his Moriarty mystery. Norm Bishop has lived near the Moriarty Airport for 23 years and he's never seen anything like it.
I looked over here and I saw coming directly at me.
Nothing like the gliders and small planes he usually sees.
And as it flew over me, I couldn't hear anything, no sound whatsoever. I could see its silhouette, and all I could see was it was just a wing. There was no fuselage, there was no vertical tail. I wouldn't say from outer space or anything, but it was an unidentified flying object. I have no idea what it was.
That and something else has him concerned. He's seen the modest hangars at the airport, but wants to know what this huge building is with a sign out front that warns of snakes. He says the building is so big, it has stolen his view.
Right above the hangar out there, you'll notice there's a little mountain. I used to love my view of that mountain. My view is gone.
After asking some questions, we confirmed what's going on. This sign, "Welcome Google," explains it all. This is all quite intriguing, and it turns out to be very explainable. Google bought Titan Aerospace in Moriarty in April. Google is going to be building, researching, and testing drones at the airport. That big hangar you saw, that's all part of it. The UFO Bishop saw, probably a drone being tested. The operation out there is expected to create more than 200 new aviation and aerospace jobs.
Three very mysterious shiny lights over Breckenridge have police and residents puzzled. Just before noon today, law enforcement agencies started getting reports of UFOs. 9 News Mountain Newsroom reporter Matt Renew is joining us from Breckenridge. And Matt, many people saw these objects today, including yourself.
You bet, Mark. It has been the talk of the town around Breckenridge all day. Even if now here at 5 o'clock, I'm about the only person willing to get in front of a camera and talk about the UFOs that were flying overhead. There was 3 white dots, I'll show you, that were flying over a Breckenridge behind me late this morning. Looked as if they were hovering right over Baldy Mountain behind me. And while no one from the Breckenridge Police Department or Sheriff's Departments wanted to talk about the objects on camera, several people at those organizations saw them, and others around town reported the strange things flying over the skies of Breckenridge, sending police out to investigate these shiny, white, tiny dots in the sky. Some people off camera said they saw them form triangles and a line. On our camera, it seemed as if they didn't move at all. In fact, it took some help for most people to even see them.
Very top of the trees, and then just go to the left in the blue sky. There's all those kind of wispy clouds. Yeah. There's a white dot right in near the edge of those wispy clouds.
Just to the left of the second pine tree, there's a white dot. The FAA didn't have a comment on what these dots could be, nor had said they're not tracking any abnormalities at this time. But yesterday, a TV station in Utah reported very similar white dots appearing in the sky over Utah. The objects were visible for about 3 hours. They showed up best when the sun was reflecting off of them. Mark, we also called the Strategic Command as well, U.S. Strategic Command. They said they aren't tracking anything, but they typically track those objects that come in from outer space and then enter orbit. They believe whatever these were probably below their range of tracking.
And not drones, you don't think, Matt?
I don't think they were drones, and the folks that I talked to said they didn't look like weather balloons because at times they would just sit there for 5 or 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes without moving an inch on our view screen in the camera, and then you would see a flash of light and they would take off across the edge of the mountain ridge behind me. So it didn't appear to be drones, it didn't appear to be weather balloons, truly unidentified flying objects in the skies over Breckenridge today.
All right, Matt Renew, if you should suddenly disappear, we have a clue. Matt Renew reporting live from Summit County.
We've discovered a lot. We still don't know the answer to that question, are we alone?
But do we know now? Could this video be the evidence needed to prove UFOs exist? A Clovis man believes he spotted a UFO flying near his home.
And he says he's got the video to prove it. In a story you'll see only here on KMPH Fox 26 News, reporter Eric Rosales spoke with a man and put the pieces of this mystery together.
Take a good look. See that bright orb? Now look closely and you can see a smaller bright light appear to fly away. Slowing the video down and brightening it, the small light is easier to see. It appears to fly away from the giant orb and then just disappear.
It was weird because I didn't see it when I was videoing it. And then I thought, oh my God, this is real. This is something more than just an orb. It released something.
But what? I took the video to Fresno State's physics department.
Yeah, it looked like it kind of split.
Dr. Stephen White oversees the Downing Planetarium.
You know, it was October 9th, Mars was out.
Ricardo Padua, who lives in Clovis's Harlan Ranch area, says the orb traveled from the south to the north around 7 o'clock on October 9th. And then?
It was Thursday, October 9th, 2014.
Yes. There it is. With the help of Dr. White's graduate student and a NASA website, they've determined the bright orb is the International Space Station.
Well, at first when I saw it, I thought it might be Mars, but it looks like since the International Space Station was flying over right at that time, it looks like that's what it was. It's consistent with the altitude and the direction of travel.
As for that smaller bright light flying away from the orb?
So if it is the International Space Station, it again is moving, it's going around the planet Earth, right? The stars are stationary, so it would fly by, and right when you kind of see that zoom in, as he's zooming in, it could have just passed by one of those stars, and it looks like that star is moving.
When in reality, it's a space station moving away from the star. Another option?
Of course, you know, they do drop capsules from time to time, so we might want to check on that. Those land in Russia.
As for Padua, he's not buying it. He says this is just one of several sightings he's witnessed.
What they say could be, but my other sightings without the video, there's a connection somewhere.
Although I found a logical explanation for the video, Dr. White and others say the fascination for finding life on another planet continues. And he says never stop searching the sky. Eric Rosales, KMPH Fox 26 News.
By the way, the International Space Station orbits at about 260 miles above the Earth and travels at an average speed of more than 17,000 miles per hour.
Says Roswell has the market cornered on UFOs. Tomorrow, Rio Rancho will host the first annual New Mexico UFO conference. A local researcher will share his findings and why he thinks flying saucer sightings are overrated. Let's get to News 13's Lizzie Mitri.
Jessica, this Rio Rancho man showed us his extensive files on UFO reports. He has everything from declassified military reports to audio clips from air traffic control.
It's right out of the X-Files. I mean, it's a definite UFO or something like that. But I mean,
oh, y'all are serious about this?
Yeah.
A passenger jet flying over Texas toward New Mexico in 1995 reported a dark wingless shape with strobing lights in the distance.
We had someone call here earlier about a pilot spotting an unidentified flying object.
Yep, that's us.
Okay, well, hey, we're tracking a search-only track kind of where that might have happened.
Something showed up on radar, but what it was is still a mystery. One of many David Marler of Rio Rancho has researched for nearly 25 years.
There's a good one. Talking about airliners, this is from the 50s. This is a well-publicized case.
Marler is speaking at the first New Mexico UFO conference in Rio Rancho tomorrow afternoon.
In his garage alone, Marler has 14 filing cabinets, each full of audio files, government files, and newspaper clippings dating back to 1897.
I don't know what these things are, but based on almost 25 years of active investigation, there's enough smoke to indicate that there's some fire.
In digging through all these headlines and images, Marler says instead of the stereotypical flying saucer, many reports over the last 20 to 30 years describe triangular UFOs, something he'll present evidence for at the UFO conference, ultimately leaving it up to the audience to decide what it all means.
Whether you relegate UFOs to fact, fiction, or folklore, I always come down to the simple premise: it's part of our history.
Marler says despite many nights camping outside searching for UFOs, he's never spotted one himself. Jessica, back to you.
All right, thank you, Lizzie. For more information on the UFO conference tomorrow, go to krqe.com and click on KRQE.
Ball of light falling through the sky last night. You weren't alone. It even photobombed a local TV weather person live on the air. It happened at about 10:38, and there were reports of the green light from people in Quebec, Ontario, and right across 7 states. Andrew Fazekis is an astronomy columnist with National Geographic. So, Andrew, tell us, what was that green ball of light last night?
Well, it's a very intriguing video, definitely. It's got all the characteristics from what we can see on the video frames of some form of space debris. It's coming down at the right angle, it's got the right color, and the movement that appears very much of a telltale of some space debris. The big question, of course, is what exactly was it? Was it something that was man-made, maybe some space junk, or could it have been a meteor, basically some space rock that actually fell through the atmosphere and burned up?
And why was it green?
That's one of the characteristic colors of debris as it's entering the atmosphere. It's going at extraordinary speeds. Usually we're talking on upwards of 50 to 80,000 kilometers per hour, and hitting the atmosphere, it's like hitting a brick wall practically, and it's literally ionizing. And when it ionizes, space debris kind of glows in greens, and it can also be orange and yellow, and you can see some of those colors in the video frame.
Okay, and there's no sign of it on the ground anywhere, right?
Not at this point. It would be wonderful if we could triangulate. If there were some other security camera footage from parking lots or some other private security cams, then we could maybe triangulate where exactly the trajectory of this is, and if there was any that made it to the ground.
All right, and just quickly, very quickly, we're expecting another show in the sky next week? A lunar eclipse, right?
That's right. Exactly. That's going to excite a lot of people because that's in the early morning. That's going to be just before sunrise. Folks can actually go out, look towards the western horizon for a full moon that will basically do a disappearing act where it will undergo going into the shadow of the Earth and will appear to be gobbled up by the shadow and turn blood red in color. It should be pretty interesting.
All right. It seems to be exciting the people in the vehicles behind you. So we'll see what happens next week. Andrew Fazekas, thanks so much.
Up to the northeast, there was this light, a round light, probably, I would say, 20% the size of the moon.
On Saturday night, Mick Rudy saw something he's never seen before. In all 69 years he's been coming to North Myrtle Beach, and he still can't explain it.
It didn't move, it just hung there. And I watched it, and I said, what the heck is that? Gradually got it smaller and smaller, and then it just disappeared over the horizon.
Now, after Rudy initially saw that light in the sky, he grabbed his binoculars over here and ran back outside. Now, once Rudy got out here and got a closer look of what he was seeing with his binoculars, he realized he needed a more permanent record of what he was seeing.
You always see lights out there. There's boats and airplanes flying around, but this wasn't nothing of that.
So what did Rudy's camera capture? We took his video to aviation expert Jeremy Bass to get some answers.
That looks very much like a military jet training, and the different color variations appear to be just different heat signatures.
But what about the moment Rudy says he saw it disappear? Bass has an explanation for that too.
It's not actually disappearing, it's just that that aircraft is now turned and flying toward the viewer, and they're so far away you don't see navigation lights, things like that.
Rudy isn't convinced. He still thinks what he saw was out of this world.
You read stories about people seeing UFOs and you know, very similar type things, and I thought, holy cow, I've never seen one, and this is my opportunity.
In North Myrtle Beach, Mark Liverman, WPDE News Channel 15.
Resident Caitlin Ellis sent us a video of something she saw flying in the Treasure Valley sky, and she wanted us to find out what this unusual object may have been. Morgan Wagner has the answer. Hopefully, Morgan, it's a conundrum.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No one really knows what's flying through Meridian Sky Wednesday, but we've had a few guesses.
This video was taken from the back porch of Caitlin Ellis's home on Wednesday around 2:45 in the afternoon. You can see the object flying doesn't leave much of a contrail, and after seeing this go by, Ellis says she then saw a plane following in its same path. And to her, it didn't look the same. I went out and shared this video with others, and this is what they thought it could be.
That looks like a UFO. I lived in the desert, and I seen a lot of weird stuff out there.
It didn't look unusual.
No, it didn't. It didn't look like it was out of this world.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I don't know.
There have been many people commenting on our Facebook page, giving us their opinion too. Some say it looks like a military plane,
But when I asked Idaho National Guard Public Affairs Officer Colonel Tim Marsano, he says it wasn't one of their operations.
I really don't have any idea what that is, but I can tell you for sure it's not anything that belongs to the Idaho Air National Guard or the Army National Guard.
I also asked an amateur astronomer for his opinion. He told us that based on the apparent zoom level of the camera and Ellis's ability to keep up with the object, it appeared too slow to be a meteor. So Natalie, unfortunately we still have no official word as to what was seen in the video, but we still want to know everyone's opinion. So like us on our Facebook page and share your thoughts. Back to you.
Lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
What do you think that is? I have no idea. The top of a building?
One video on YouTube is claiming the light formation to be an alien mothership, and the video has now been seen a whopping 78,000 times since Friday. So I set out to the location of the scene to see what I could find. When nothing turned up, I turned to you.
It's probably... I don't know.
I don't think every light you see is a UFO.
I don't know. Some type of distortion.
So no one seems too sure exactly what's going on, but the idea of a floating object over Lake Erie seemed a little bit far-fetched for me, so I thought the best place to start looking for answers was the place where the question started, the WICU 12 Tower Cam down here at Mill Creek Mall. I grabbed some new video from that camera and matched it up with the viral sensation. What we found was the light appears to be on the shore rather than in the sky as first thought. Was it a boat? Was it a reflection of the moon? Well, that's hard to say. So do we technically have an unidentified flying object?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Why would they come only on top of Erie? I mean...
In Erie, Brandon Arroyo reporting.
Well, looks like the mystery remains tonight. Now, we did reach out to the Coast Guard to see if a ship traveled that location at the time of our taping, but they didn't immediately.
A man who believes he saw a UFO fly past his home, and he has the video to prove it. NBC Charlotte's Dan Yasnowski spoke with him and put the pieces of this mystery together.
Picture going outside on a Saturday night, looking up in the sky and seeing what appears to be a UFO. That's what happened right here to Luis Rodriguez. So I spent tonight trying to identify this unidentified flying object. 7:30 p.m. Saturday, Luis Rodriguez takes his dog for a walk outside his apartment in the Arwin Vista complex. He looks up and sees this.
Tried to make sense of it, just like any other rational person would. I thought it was a plane or some sort of aircraft that was just flying really low.
But after watching it go across the sky, he believes it was a UFO, a spaceship of some sort. I sent the video to some experts at UNCC. Catherine Qualtrough said, quote, took a look at the video, and it does look strange for sure. But she also said she's sure there's a logical explanation. We have to remember what else was happening Saturday night around 7:30. The Bank of America 500 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Check out the map. Rodriguez lives just minutes away. This is from inside the speedway of the aerial flyover. I showed Rodriguez a video sent to me from members of the speedway staff posted on Instagram of military planes flying over just before the race, which started at 8 o'clock. He acknowledges the similarities in the two clips, and even though it wouldn't surprise him if those planes are what he saw, he isn't fully sold.
I didn't see different aircrafts together. I saw just a perfect V-shape, slim V-shape above the sky.
As intriguing as the thought of aliens is, personally, Dave, I'm kind of hoping the speedway is right, and this was just that group of flyover planes. Near University City, Dan Yasnowski, NBC Charlotte.
Interesting, isn't it? Both the Speedway and experts at UNCC believe the formation of the flyover planes is a likely explanation for what Rodriguez saw.
Well, that's just about it for October's episode. Once again, I'd like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to UFOcontact.com for their permission to use the footage from the Stephen Bassett November 1st social media blitz for RET and UFO disclosure, filmed at the UFO Contact retreat which took place August 2014 in Toronto. Also a big thank you to all of you regular viewers who make Max UFO News a true pleasure to produce. Coming up, the new editions for October. But from Alice and I as always, until next time, thanks for watching.
I know a lot of us out there have amazing stories, and we need to share them. You really need to share them at this time, because now is the time. By you sharing your stories, it really stimulates and causes ripples beyond what we can see, and it changes the discussion over time, and ultimately will lead to one thing. It will lead to everyone being on one accord, on one same page.